Hello and welcome to World Talks, where every word matters. With me here, Anna Kalczyńska, coming to you live from Warsaw, Poland. 43,000 soldiers, that's the toll Ukraine has paid in the fight against Russia since the full-scale invasion began in February 2022. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky shared this staggering figure on Sunday on social media, also stating that 370,000 have been wounded. Russian ground-air attacks have left a trail of destruction across Ukraine. As the situation in the country intensifies, the international community is stepping up its efforts. And European Council President Antonio Costa has called on European Union leaders to unite at a crucial summit in Brussels on December 19. So now to discuss with me this topic is Maciej Popowski, Director General for European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations at the European Commission. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
First, let us clarify what is the task of your organization, European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations. What do you do in Ukraine specifically?
We've been supporting Ukraine since the beginning of the invasion by providing humanitarian aid. It's been more than €1 billion for the last almost 3 years, and that will of course continue as long as it takes. What it means in practice is providing food, water, shelter. Also cash assistance for people to buy goods. For instance, now in the winter season, they should be able to buy fuel. And there's a huge population of internally displaced persons within Ukraine, people fleeing from the fighting. Now, we've been using the Union Civil Protection Mechanism to provide in-kind assistance to the country. It's been 150,000 tons of different goods worth more than €1 billion. To give you 2 or 3 examples, we provided almost 9,000 generators. So the Russians are targeting grid and power stations. So in order to keep the country running, a lot of generators is needed. Also provided more than 3,000 transformers and other electrical equipment. But more than that, different vehicles, machinery, laptops, and even road salt that is so necessary in a country with a harsh winter.
Exactly. So I understand you're helping the victims of airstrikes and you provide also power generation in winter as the winter angles Ukraine energy. But how about your workers? Are they safe? I imagine this work is extremely dangerous. And so are they well trained? Are they prepared to conduct such operations?
Yes, they are. There is a huge humanitarian community out there in Ukraine. We have a team reporting to me based in Kiev, but very mobile and agile. So our colleagues are reaching hard-to-reach places in the south and in the east. I myself, I have been to Ukraine 5 times since the beginning of the invasion. There is never zero risk, but this work is so essential that we know that we have to do it.
All right, and where exactly do you operate? Is it eastern Ukraine, central Ukraine, or is it all over the country?
All over the country, wherever we get access, because that's the problem. Of course, we cannot operate very near to the front line, where the active fighting is taking place. So our headquarters, our main office is in Kiev. We have a smaller office, an antenna in Dnipro. But we are able to move around and also to link up with the partners, different organizations that we are funding, like the World Food Program or Red Cross or different non-governmental organizations.
How would you respond to Donald Trump's demand for the EU to accommodate his demands on military spending and trade if they want to keep the US in NATO?
this is not part of my brief, but I think that there is a growing realization within the European Union that we need to step up to the plate and do more on defense, invest more in defense and defense industry, and that's what's going to happen. The Commission President presented her political guidelines for the next 5 years, and in the political guidelines of Ursula von der Leyen, it's very clear that defense and security is going to be one of the top priorities of the EU.
All right, so this is not exactly the de-escalation politics that Donald Trump is wanting to achieve. And what does the EU expect to happen in Syria? Are you afraid about a new wave of migration or the opposite?
I think the jury is still out. I mean, the events are unfolding as we speak. It's important to achieve as a peaceful solution within the country. Of course, we've been monitoring that. We also are present in Syria, because Syria has been one of the main areas of operation for EU humanitarian action since the beginning of the civil war, so for the last 13 years.
All right, and I would like you to comment again. The figures that were given by Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, is talking about 43,000 soldiers who died on the battlefield in Ukraine. How about those figures also given by Donald Trump, 400,000 Russian soldiers who died? How do you see it? What do you see on the ground? What is the spirit also among the Russian people regarding the war?
The numbers are staggering, of course. I'm not sure how reliable the figure that is out there of Russian casualties is, but I'm sure it's quite elevated. But of course, it's not all. You mentioned before the number of wounded soldiers, but also civilians. The Russian attacks are happening every day. And there we're also playing a role. One of the less known stories of EU engagement during the war is medical evacuation. We have a medical evacuation hub in Poland at the airport of Rzeszów. That's a place where Ukrainian authorities send patients that need medical attention and cannot get it in the country. And since the beginning of the war, we have received and transferred for treatment in different European countries more than 3,900 Ukrainian patients, both civilians and military. Well, the spirit in the country, I think, is high, although people are, of course, understandably tired. In particular now during the winter, with the ongoing targeting of energy grid and other civilian objects. They are not giving up, and we are going to stand by them.
All right, thank you very much for being with us. Maciej Popowski, Director General for European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, European Commission, was with us this morning. Thank you very much, sir, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. But please don't go away, as World News is coming up next with Diana Skaya. See you soon. Thank you for watching.